Hello and welcome. I am Chad K, and I will be talking today about dragons. Each week, I will speak on a different topic. The goal of this podcast is to provide you with interesting facts about various things with peaceful, relaxing music in the background. The goal is to help you relax and drift off into a meditative state, or to help you drift off to sleep after a busy day. So find a comfortable spot or lie down. Close your eyes if you want and lose yourself in these relaxing facts. Dragons. What exactly are dragons? Where did the stories of these magical beasts originate? We will find out how dragons came about. We will focus mainly on Western civilization in this talk. A dragon is a magical creature that appears in the folklore of different cultures around the world. Beliefs about dragons vary according to regions, but dragons in Western cultures since the High Middle Ages have often been shown as winged, horned, and able to breathe fire. Dragons in Eastern cultures are usually depicted as wingless, four-legged, serpentine creatures with above-average intelligence. Common traits are often a hybrid of reptilian, mammalian, and avian features. The word dragon entered the English language in the early 13th century from the Old French dragon, which in turn comes from Latin draco, meaning huge serpent or dragon. From ancient Greek, drakon, meaning serpent. The Greek and Latin term referred to any great serpent, not necessarily mythological. The Greek word most likely comes from the Greek verb derkomai, meaning I see. This is thought to have referred to something with a deadly glance, or unusually bright or sharp eyes, or because a snake's eyes appear to be always open. Each eye actually sees through a big, transparent scale in its eyelids, which are permanently shut. The Greek word probably derives from an Indo-European base, derk, meaning to see. Dragon-type creatures appear in nearly all cultures around the globe, and the earliest reports of draconic creatures resemble giant snakes. Draconic creatures are first described in the mythologies of the ancient Near East and appear in ancient Mesopotamian art and literature. Stories about storm gods slaying giant serpents occur throughout nearly all Near Eastern and Indo-European mythologies. The tale of a hero slaying a giant serpent occurs in almost all Indo-European mythology. In most stories, the hero is some kind of thunder god. In nearly every retelling of the story, the serpent is either multi-headed or multiple in some other way. Furthermore, in nearly every story, the serpent is always somehow associated with water. Bruce Lincoln has proposed that a Proto-Indo-European dragon-slaying myth can be reconstructed as follows. First, the sky gods give cattle to a man named Tritos, which means the third. He He is named this because he is the third man on earth. But a three-headed serpent steals them. Tritos pursues the serpent and is accompanied by Haner, whose name means man. Together, the two heroes slay the serpent and rescue the cattle. Western civilization has been highly influenced by the Bible. Almost everyone today can recite biblical stories like Noah and the Ark, or David killing Goliath with only a sling and a smooth stone. In the Hebrew Bible, in the book of Psalms, chapter 74, verses 13 and 14, the sea dragon Leviathan is slain by Yahweh, God of the kingdoms of Israel and Judah, as part of the creation of the world. Isaiah describes Leviathan as a Tannin, which is translated as sea monster, serpent, or dragon. In Isaiah chapter 27, Yahweh's destruction of Leviathan is foretold as part of his impending overhaul of the universal order. The book of Job, chapter 41, contains a detailed description of Leviathan, who is described as being so powerful that only Yahweh can overcome it. In the book of Job, chapter 41, it states that Leviathan exhales fire and smoke, making its identification as a mythical dragon clearly apparent. In some parts of the Old Testament, Leviathan is a symbol for the nations that stand against Yahweh. Rahab, a synonym for Leviathan, is used in several biblical passages in reference to Egypt. For example, Isaiah chapter 30 declares, "For Egypt's help is worthless and empty. Therefore I have called her the silenced Rahab." Similarly, Psalm 87, verse 3 reads, "I reckon Rahab and Babylon as those that know me." In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 29 and chapter 32, the Pharaoh of Egypt is described as a dragon, a Tannin. In the Deuterocanonical story of Bel and the dragon from the book of Daniel, the prophet Daniel sees a dragon being worshipped by the Babylonians. Daniel makes cakes of pitch, fat, and hair. The dragon eats them and bursts open. Dragons and dragon motifs are featured in many works of modern literature, particularly within the fantasy genre. As early as the 18th century, critical thinkers such as Denis Diderot were already saying that too much literature had been published on dragons. Quote, "There are already in books all too many fabulous stories of dragons." End quote. In Lewis Carroll's classic children's novel, Through the Looking Glass, from 1871, one of the inset poems describes the Jabberwock, a kind of dragon. Carroll's illustrator, John Tyndall, a famous political cartoonist, humorously showed the Jabberwock with the waistcoat, buck teeth, and strange eyes of a Victorian University professor, such as Carroll himself. In works of comedy, children's fantasy, dragons often fulfill the role of a magic fairy tale helper. In such works, rather than being frightening as they are traditionally shown, dragons are instead represented as harmless, benevolent, and inferior to humans. They are sometimes shown living in contact with humans, or in isolated communities of only dragons. Though popular in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, such comic and idyllic stories began to grow increasingly rare after the 1960s due to demand for more serious children's literature. Today, dragons can be found in all different types of art and history and in the fantasy genre. Okay, well, this concludes my talk this week about dragons. If you have enjoyed this edition of Relaxing Facts, then please subscribe to this podcast or leave a comment. I hope you have a wonderful day, whether you are de-stressing from the day's events, or if you're just passing the time by listening. Thank you for listening. This is Chad K, and I will see you next time. Take care.